When I asked the question of what makes Elon Musk companies so successful, I was not expecting that as an answer. Happy New Year! It has been a few weeks since we've released an episode. Back in October, I made the deliberate choice that I was going to take the month of December off. I've been releasing weekly or bi-weekly episodes for about a year and a half, and I decided I just wanted a little bit of a break. I just didn't really tell anybody, so sorry about that. But here I am, we're back, and I'm actually breaking my plans because it's obviously still 2024. And I realized that the last day of the year lined up with our normal release date, and so I decided what better day than to release a kind of summary episode with my greatest leadership lesson of 2024. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's really interesting because especially the end of 2024 was a really big year for one person in particular, and that person is Elon Musk. All right, you can say what you want, believe what you want. You can disagree with his political ideologies. That's all fair. But I think it's hard to argue that his companies have seen some tremendous success over the course of 2024 with, the advances in autonomous driving from Tesla, obviously the amazing stuff that SpaceX has done, and, XAI building a data center faster than anyone had ever done before and building it bigger than anyone had ever done before. They're doing some pretty incredible stuff. If you've ever listened to this podcast before, I used to work at SpaceX, and so I'm very kind of plugged in to this ecosystem. And because of all that success, a lot of people ask the question, what makes these companies so successful? And you have people like Mark Andreessen, giving his take on a lot of podcasts recently. You can read biographies on Musk and get some other takes. But a lot of these takes are tricky because they're kind of unique to the highest levels of leadership. They're sometimes there's certain things that you can do as a CEO that are very different than what you can do as a frontline manager. And so as somebody who cares about developing frontline managers, there's not always a lot that you can glean from that. But since I'm plugged into this ecosystem and I'm talking to a lot of leaders there, I came across one particular idea that I think is not only really relevant and crucial to the success of these companies, but I think it's extremely practical for every manager at every level to implement. And so that's what I want to talk about today. When I'm talking to these leaders, traditionally I kind of pose the question of what makes these companies successful? Is it working harder or working smarter? Because obviously Elon is pretty famously known for asking a lot out of people. He recently on X had a whole tirade of saying how there's not enough engineers who are talented and want to work hard. And I find that kind of funny because, his version of working hard is usually 80 hours a week, which is a lot. And I'm really excited that there's people out there who are passionate enough and focused enough that they want to work 80 hours a week. That's great. But I don't think that's going to be most people. And I don't think it should be most people. And so if the answer to, is it harder or smarter, if the answer was harder or longer, I don't know how practical of a lesson that would be. You can't really expand that out. Sometimes you're as a manager, we should always be trying to incentivize or encourage our people to work harder. I think that's really important. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. You can offer stock options to give a financial incentive. You can have this clear and compelling mission like making life multiplanetary or solving autonomous driving. But that's not going to be something that you can do at every company. There's some jobs that just kind of need to get done. And there's also lots of people. I personally don't necessarily think we would live in a better society if everyone was working 80 hours a week. I just don't think that's good. And so that wouldn't be a super practical piece of advice. But how they answered this question of what makes Elon Musk companies so successful was really interesting. And it was a combination, actually, of working harder and longer. And what I heard was that, you'd everybody does their whole day, their normal 8 hours in the day of getting stuff done. There's the thing that you would see at every other company. There's lots of emails, there's lots of meetings, but typically in the after hours, things quiet down. And so you're around for a little bit longer, and you're a little bit more focused on individual projects. And what most leaders choose to spend that time on is reflection. It's sitting back and thinking about, okay, what's the most important thing that we're trying to achieve? What did I do today? What do I have planned tomorrow? And is all that still necessary? Am I still on the right track? Am I still doing the most important things? That kind of blew me away, because if we're honest, in most companies, in most teams, we're doing that kind of reflection annually, quarterly, maybe, and to do it daily is just taking things to a whole nother level. And I find this really compelling and interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it really fits into a philosophy that I believe in a lot of that's talked about in the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. And what the one thing is, what the message of the book is, you should always be thinking about what's the one thing that if you got it done, everything else would be either irrelevant or easier, right? So it's about always asking yourself that question of what is the most important thing. It also fits in with this philosophy of, this kind of backlash to multitasking. We live in a world where it's so easy to be doing so many things. And obviously all the research says that the vast majority of human beings can't multitask. And you should stay really, really focused and dedicated to, again, what is that one thing? And so this idea of constantly asking yourself, what I got is that at these companies, the leaders are spending a lot of time kind of asking themselves, what is the one thing? What is my team's one thing? What do we need to get done to get there as fast as possible? Which is awesome. But then, so that's the focus piece. But then the other interesting piece is the fact that they're doing this daily, which means I bet they get really, really good at it. And so they get really smart at it. That allows them to work smarter, because if you're reassessing your progress or setting goals on an annual basis, on a quarterly basis, you're just not going to be very good at it because you're not doing it very often. The reason why as a manager, it's so hard to remember how to, approve leave or just like all these different random tasks is because you're just not doing that kind of stuff. You're not getting into these HR systems very often, so you forget how to use them. Often the reason why people are bad at giving feedback or bad at having difficult conversations is because you don't do it that often. And so you're just bad at it because you don't have a lot of practice. And so the same applies to planning and prioritizing, is that if you don't do it very much, you're just not going to be very good at it. And so by doing it on a daily basis, you're not only ensuring that you're focused on the most important thing, but you're ensuring that you're getting really good at figuring out what the most important thing is. And so you just cut through so much stuff that probably doesn't need to get done. If we're honest, if we're looking at our team, there's lots of things that probably don't need to get done, right? Or there's better ways to do them. And if we spent more time thinking about what is the most important, am I making progress? Am I doing the right things? Is my to-do list tomorrow the right to-do list? I think we'd all get a lot better. And so I just found this really interesting because that's something that any manager at any level in an organization can do in order to improve their team's effectiveness. It's something that any individual contributor could do in order to improve their own effectiveness. And so I just thought that was really important to spell out, because when I asked the question of what makes Elon Musk companies so successful, I was not expecting that as an answer. It really is about being ruthlessly focused on what the most important thing is and constantly reassessing it and constantly making sure you're taking steps in that direction. Okay, so that's it. I'm about to close things out for 2024. I hope you are having a great new year. I have one final closing message, but in order to share it, I have to go get some help. So I will be right back. And we're back with our special guest. This is my daughter, Reagan, and I needed to have her here because she plays a crucial role in the story. So we've already been talking about Elon Musk quite a bit in this episode, but I wanted to share a story from maybe a month or so ago. My wife and I were having a conversation in our house about a bunch of these legal battles that are going on with Elon right now, where there was like the Coastal Commission was trying to limit SpaceX's launches because of the political activities of Musk, and then the EU was doing some stuff as well, like threatening to fine a bunch of different companies. And I just said, I get that governments need to have oversight, but like when somebody's really far ahead, the answer isn't to like pull them back. The answer is for other people to step up, right? We need other companies, other individuals to step up and try to fill that void. And Reagan was working, or she was playing around in the other room, and all of a sudden she yells out from the other room. Do you remember what she yelled out?
Yeah, I said, "Why don't you step up?"
Yeah. And it was just like, it was so perfect. She's just, why don't you step up? And it caught me off guard as somebody who runs my own business. And I think the thing that it did for me is it reminded me of like, we can all dream bigger. Like I'm super happy with everything that's been happening in my life. I'm really, really blessed. But I always want to remember that there's more to do and more to get done, and it's okay to dream big. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody at the end of the year, going into 2025. Because it's so great. Kids have a great way of like kind of resetting your view and what you're thinking about. So as we finish the year, whether you're listening to this the last day of 2024 or the beginning of 2025, I hope you have an amazing new year, and you look for ways in your life that you can step up and help your family, help other people, help your community, because that's really how we're going to move forward. And I look forward to seeing you next time on the Leadership Launchpad. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you are looking for help turning your organization's great engineers into great managers, me and my team at Better Everyday Studios would love to help. We deliver targeted and interactive training workshops that are designed to help build the 3 fundamental skills of any new manager: building trust, giving feedback, and setting goals. Reach out to me through matt@bettereverydaystudios.com so we can start making your organization better every day.